We are very pleased to announce PennDOT's updated online Bicycle PA route map. This interactive e-map displays Pennsylvania's bicycle routes and all of the DCNR trails and state parks. Users will also see traffic volumes and speed limits, all designed to improve bicycling, safety, and access in Pennsylvania. Find our new interactive bike route map at penndot.gov.
It's Leslie Richards and a story we had last week, Mark, and continue to talk about the trails. We've got some great guests in. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hello. Good morning.
Welcome to the program. This is pretty exciting. Emma, I'm going to have you introduce Bill.
Okay, this is Bill Hoffman, who is visiting us from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, for a few days this week. We have been trying to make contact with someone with Bill's particular skill set and expertise for some time, and just recently, earlier this month, the PennDOT District Office connected us with Bill. I'll let him talk about it more extensively, but in general, what we're trying to do at Redevelopment is find ways to make connections from Titusville to existing bicycle PA routes. Thinking of this as part of the larger economic development tool, recreation tourism, ways to make those connections and show people how to get here and back on their way safely while spending some time and hopefully some money here in Titusville.
Absolutely.
So Bill is an avid cyclist, a lifelong cyclist and bicycle advocate, and I'll let him tell you more about himself.
Yeah, okay, Bill, tell us your history.
Thank you. Okay. Well, as Mary Lynn said, I've been a cyclist all my life, and I took up serious cycling as an adult about, well, I won't say how many years ago. You guess that for yourself. But it's more than 10. It's a 2-digit number. And basically, I never looked back. And I really got the bug, and I've been doing long-distance touring, recreational riding, and commuting ever since. I'm retired now, so I don't commute to work. It would be worth working just to have a job so you could ride to it, I guess. But I've been involved in bicycling advocacy for over 40 years.
Wow.
At the state and local levels, county levels.
First time in this area of the state?
No, I've been here before. The last time I was here was about 20 years ago when Tom Ridge was governor. Every year he did a bicycle tour of 2 or 3 days in a different part of the state. It was partly an economic development thing and partly a recreational thing. Tom Ridge became a cyclist thanks to a friend of his who was chairman of the House Transportation Committee at that time, a man named Rick Geist. He's retired from the House now. I knew Rick. And when Tom ran for governor the first time in '94, he campaigned for a few days on a bicycle. And I was invited to go along, and I went. And after he was elected, his staff asked me to plan the routes for his annual, we call them Keystone Rides, because we're the Keystone State. So his people would tell me where they wanted to go, what stops they wanted to make, and I would connect the dots, basically. And so I went on all the Keystone Rides. We had one every year except 2001 because of the 9/11 attacks. The ride had been planned and then it was canceled. And then Tom Ridge got his transportation or Homeland Security job, and he left the governorship, and the Lieutenant Governor, Mark Schweiker, took over, and we had one ride with him, and then he had already announced he wasn't going to run for a term of his own, so that was the end of it. And when Ed Rendell became governor, the trips were not continued.
He didn't want to ride a bike.
I guess not. Maybe he should have, but he didn't.
Yeah, I think he was more of a bus fan. Every time I saw him, he was on a bus.
Okay, yeah.
So we've gone from presidents riding on trains to governors riding on bikes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So talk about what you've experienced the last few days in this part of the state.
Okay, I came up here, as Mary Lynn said, at the request of the local people to lay out some routes or investigate the routes that they had tentatively laid out to connect the Titusville area with the cross-state bicycle routes. There are several in this part of the state. There's Route A running north-south, which passes just west of Meadville. There's Y, which is essentially along Route 6. And then there's V, which crosses the state more or less on the I-80 corridor. There you can see it on the map. the intention was to get people who use those routes, and we really don't know how many do it. We don't, there are no counts when you get on the route. You don't stick a ticket in a machine and get it validated. So we really don't know, but anecdotally, we know that these routes are being used. The maps are on the website. You can download it from PennDOT, strip maps for each of the routes from PennDOT's website. So the issue was to try to get people to spend more time in this area, and how do we connect Titusville to these couple of routes? And that's why I'm here to do that.
Is that something that you can do in a couple days, or is it you come here, you gather some information, and then you go back, and that's when the thinking begins?
Well, if I did it by bicycle, it would be a couple of weeks, not a couple of days. I didn't have the time to do it by bicycle. I already knew a little bit about the area from my working days and from having biked up here before. So when I looked at the map that the local people sent me, I could immediately see what corridors they were using. The question was how to refine those corridors, and that's what I came up to do, because I don't know all the back roads here.
And ML, this is fantastic for tourism, and we've heard a lot. I guess in terms of the importance of these trails and the waterways, and the last couple of years there's been more and more about those folks who are using these trails and waterways. What is it for you guys that says this is perfect for us? This is something we want to be working on.
Well, this is yet another audience to reach, because the people that use the off-road trails are not necessarily the same ones that are going to be more serious road cyclists like Bill. So this is just another opportunity for folks to find their way to Titusville and experience the Victorian charm here. Go visit Drake Well. We're developing the water trail. excuse me. Possibly stop and utilize that. And also, the proposed Erie to Pittsburgh Trail is incomplete in sections, including going north out of Titusville. So while we're still working to accomplish the off-road segment of that, this is an alternative for the people that are already riding through anyway, to direct them on routes that have already been evaluated, and they can find some information about them before they head out.
Is this helpful when that trail is 100% done and the marketing goes out? Is this a nice piece to have in there? Oh, by the way, as you're passing through here, we've got this that you can do?
Yeah, I think I'll let Bill answer that one, as someone who might take advantage of that.
Well, yes, the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So this just complements, one complements the other. Some people like trail riding, some people like road riding, some people come here for the water activities. But the point is that the effort is to get people to come here and spend some time and leave a little money, because you need to basically replace the income that the industries that has been lost when the industries have left.
Bill, for those who might not be familiar with, those who jump on a bike and go, or travel to ride different trails, these people aren't just going and riding a trail and then leaving, right? They're spending money. They're staying in communities. They're maybe spending the night. They're eating dinner. Maybe they're bringing their families.
Yes, they're no different than a motor tourist, except that they travel slower. They use a different mode of transportation. And since they travel slower, they stay longer in one place. So they may actually, in terms of dollars spent per day, they may actually spend more money than someone who's traveling through in a car and averages 40 miles an hour versus 10 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour.
So what are your thoughts when you heard about the whole Erie to DC and Erie to Pittsburgh Trail? That has to be pretty exciting for somebody like you who loves to go out and ride.
Well, we're talking about two different types of trails here. Sometimes they combine, sometimes they don't. The off-road trails, of which Pennsylvania is a leader in the country, we have, I think, more miles of rail trail than any other state, and that is huge economically. And then there are the on-road trails, which we have 9, I think, across the state. You saw the map there a few minutes ago, and I was involved in. There it is. I was involved in laying out or evaluating, I think, all but about 2 of them.
Wow.
And that is for the burgeoning long-distance touring market. And this is what we're doing in Pennsylvania is just part of a national effort. There is a a group of people working to develop a national bicycle route system. It would be have numbered routes just like the interstate highway system.
Really?
Where people could go, across the country or from one state to the next or 2 or 3 states away.
Wow.
On these routes. And these are basically for the most part, on roads. This is not a road or path building program. This is just a travel enhancement where we use what's in the ground now. We're not really building things to do this. And Bicycle PA is similarly is built on using the existing system. So I know here in Pennsylvania we have certain things that we want to look for in laying out our routes. We recognize that this is not just a bicycle touring thing, it's an economic development issue. And so where we can, we want to send our routes to places that have tourists, that have historic attractions, have scenic attractions, so people will spend more time. So that's one of the ways that we lay out our routes. We know there are certain corridors that are heavily used. Anecdotally, we have that evidence. So we are catering to those people who want to go across Pennsylvania, but we also want to cater to people who are within Pennsylvania. And I have several friends in the Lancaster Bicycle Club who every year go on a trip and they do one of the different Bicycle PA routes. I think this year they did Route Y. Last year they did Route V. So they have about 8 more years of touring unless we develop some more routes.
And those are pretty hefty tours. Y and V, according to the map, those are east-west trails across Pennsylvania.
And I'll let you finish that thought right after this. 8:22 is our time. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, yes, you're right. These are Route S. Is about 400 miles long. I mean, it's longer than the Turnpike. Yes, this is not something that you go out and spend an afternoon or something doing. You could do parts of it in an afternoon, but if you're going to go across the state, this is something that requires some advanced planning, and you've got to get yourself in shape, obviously.
So how does this differ, for instance, in how does road riding differ from trail riding? I mean, there's obvious things right off the top,
right.
But there must be other differences that are a little bit more subtle.
Yes, road riding obviously requires a different type of skill than trail riding. You're in an environment where there's other traffic on the road. You don't have that on a trail except where the trail crosses a road. You do have different types of users on a trail, which presents challenges of its own. There's a lot more unpredictability actually on a trail because you have a wider variety of users. On the road, you pretty much know what to expect most of the time because you're dealing with motor vehicles and bicycles. And we assume that most motorists know what the rules of the road are, what the driving conventions are. They know how to operate. We assume the same level of skill in bicyclists. It doesn't always happen that way, but we certainly, that's the ideal. And in fact, you actually probably shouldn't be undertaking a long-distance bicycle touring without, basic fundamentals of road riding under your belt. So there are some differences there, but they're not. One doesn't necessarily preclude the other.
What's next for you? I mean, you take this information, you visit here, then
okay.
what?
Well, what I'm going to do when I get home is take my the data that I collected during my couple days of driving. Mary Lynn drove me around on Tuesday, and I sat there with a digital recorder in my hand and made notes of the roads that we were driving on, mileages, the terrain, the pavement, and so on. And I will take that information and come up with recommended routes. And I will send that to Mary Lynn or Jim Becker.
Not Jim. Don't send it to Jim.
Don't send it to Jim. Okay. Well, he's going to see it anyway. He approved this whole thing. What I think the routes should be, connecting Titusville to these other cross-state routes, and why. And I may have some other recommendations to make for the local area here. But I think what you're going to need to do is not only establish these connectors with these spokes, with Titusville being the hub, but develop some shorter local trails around here, because not everybody who comes to this area is going to ride 50 or 60 miles a day over hilly terrain. especially families. But you need to appeal to the families, and so you need to offer something local that's shorter and easier to manage.
And then, what do you guys do once you get that information? What's the next step for you guys?
Right, we Tuesday morning, before Bill and I headed out to do his first road views, we convened a group of regional people. Actually, I wanted to mention that this obviously benefits Titusville, but it has regional benefit because these spokes will connect Titusville to Meadville, Oil City, Franklin, Pleasantville, Tionesta, Warren, Youngsville, Pittsfield, Union City, up to Erie. So these spokes it's really going to be a regional.
And when you talk about the spokes, those are marked, I think, in black?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the spokes that you're talking about.
Right, and that was just a rough sketch that we sent to Bill, and then he looked more closely at, what's the
See,
best
Bill,
way to
Jim did that in
accomplish
crayon, just so you know.
Okay.
this. I think actually he did.
See? His grandkids, yeah.
So anyway, Bill wanted to talk to some people in the region before he headed out to get as much information as he could so he could spend his time wisely. So we will reconvene that group after we have Bill's recommendations. So there will be regional input on the best way to go. And then from there, Bill, your Bicycle PA makes that recommendation to the state, right?
Well, Bicycle PA, I should say, is a subcommittee of PPAC. When I saw my name on the screen there were the letters PPAC underneath there. That stands for Pedal Cycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. A pedal cycle is the legal term for a bicycle. Actually, it could include a tricycle, it could include a unicycle. That's the word that's in the vehicle code of Pennsylvania. And
you're a member of that?
I am a member of that group. It is that PPAC was constituted by the legislature in 1995. It's a standing committee, one of 3 or 4 standing committees that advises PennDOT on issues, and it includes members from government, the House, the Senate, PennDOT, DCNR, and then there are public members, and I'm one of the public members. Those people are appointed for terms by the governor. And I'm actually been there since the PPAC was started. I'm one of the longest serving members of PPAC. I guess a couple of different governors liked me enough that they would reappoint me, even though I didn't know them, maybe not even voted for them. But anyway,
cycling, and that's what matters.
That's right. That's right. So Bicycle PA is a subcommittee of PPAC, and there's about 4 of us or so people like me who have extensive touring experience and know what bicycling is all about. And we determine what the routes are. We lay out the corridors. We do the field work. We say, okay, the route will go from here to here to here, and we turn it over to PennDOT, and their district maintenance people go out and put the signs in the ground. These routes are all signed. You may have noticed it if you drive on Route 6 or through Western Crawford County, you'll see them.
I was going to say, I imagine that navigating through the halls of the bureaucracy is probably not as easy as navigating some of the bike paths.
Yes, that's true. The problem is that PennDOT doesn't have authority to post signs on roads that they don't own. And PennDOT only owns about 1/3 of the road mileage in the state. So
wow.
if we pick a road that we think is desirable and it happens to be a township road, and that township solicitor says no, we don't want signs on our roads, PennDOT can't say anything. So we have to pick another route. And we've had some cases where townships have refused to put up signs. I think they had some vendetta against PennDOT for some other reason, and they decided here's our opportunity to throw it back in their face.
Really?
Yes, and so we had to pick a less desirable route because the one we wanted to use was not state-owned. So that's just the way things work in the legal sphere of things.
Well, Bill, welcome to the area.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you and get to learn more about what you do.
Well, pleasure to be here. When you stick a microphone in my face, it's hard it's hard to keep quiet.
Thanks for having us. Do we have 1 minute for me to mention one other thing? We brought Bill here to look at those routes, but as long as he was here and I was showing him around Titusville by bicycle, which was really fun, Monday night, I was able to pick his brain about recommendations to help out with implementing our Trail Town Master Plan, which would bring people from the Queen City Trail into Titusville. So he has some recommendations that he's going to share as part of his report.
Oh, very nice.
To inform that too. Yep.
Well, keep us posted on what's going on. This is fantastic.
Will do.
All right,
Thanks for having
excellent.
us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Final
you
look
for
at
being
news
here.
coming up next.
To ride my bike, I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. Races are coming your way, so forget all your